Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be working on the cooling system on the ML 350. We're going to be doing the top and bottom radiator hose. We're going to change the thermostat. We're going to change the temperature sensor and the auxiliary fluid circulation pump that runs the coolant to the heater core. So we're going to be doing all that one by one, but first thing what we're going to do is just drain the coolant and then start taking the pipes off one by one. Okay guys, so we had to take the whole bumper off, which was good 25 odd bolts and nuts to get to this drain plug right here. It's supposed to be here. You could fiddle around with it. We even thought about drilling the hose here and dripping it in, but then we decided not to make a mess and just take off the bolts and nuts and just get the bumper off. And if you are trying to do that, you're gonna have to take off these corner bolts here first through the fender, and then from behind the bumper, so the camera orientation would be like this, you're gonna come through the inside and do these 3 nuts here, and then the 2 nuts here, and then in front of the bumper you've got 2 here and another set of 2 here, and the same thing goes around here. So you got 1 bolt there, you got 3 on one side there and another 3 there. So it's a bunch of nuts and bolts to take off, but the bumper comes off, which is totally worth it, I reckon, because now what we can do is put the tray down, and you need a massive tray because it's going to be 10 liters of fluid coming out. And here it is. Use the pliers, clear access, go from the side, crack it open.
Yeah, I do. There.
All right, there's a rubber in there. I gotta hold this up because I really don't want mess around there. Gee, that's tight. There it comes. And be mindful, guys, this is brittle plastic, so you gotta take care when you open this, because it's gonna crack and break. Okay guys, once you open the drain there, do not keep cranking it and think that it's going to come out all the way. If you pull it out, that means it's broken. It just needs to go back. You turn it, it just locks in. It does not come out. And after you do that, pop open the expansion tank's cover so that air circulates through it and pushes it down. And now to change the top hose, it's right there. Just, you can do it from the side there with an extension. Where is it? So you can go from here, from the side. Where is it? There you go. So it's just, you put it on. You don't need swivel socket. I was just trying to do the other hose, so I had the swivel on, but you just go straight through here, put it on, and undo it. It doesn't take too much. And then on this side, I'd suggest a swivel socket at the front. You put it on, and then you can just work it on the side there. It comes off. Undo it. I've already cracked it open, so it's just a matter of pulling it gently. Remember, this is all brittle plastic. If you're trying to show Hulk strength on this, it's gonna go night night, and you don't want that. Okay, now we gotta work this one loose, slowly but surely. I guess the clamp could come off a little bit. Okay, now remember, like I said, no swivel socket. You just go from the side, clamp off, and then you can just take it off slowly. There we go. Okay, I will have to exercise the power of a syringe as my car was cold and thermostat didn't open, so there's a bit of coolant stuck in there. It looks like most of the coolant's drained. Look at this hose, guys. It's just like sponge. This is when you know that it needs to be changed. Okay, so we're using a brand new Rein hose. Rein's a good brand. It's not the most expensive, cheapest either. Open her up. Check to see. It's a lot firmer than the other one. Just trying to see the orientation of it. If it's gonna fit. Yep, this one will fit, no problem. Alright, so that part's correct. Now we're gonna drain off that space. You don't want any coolant spilling outside, guys, because it's too deadly for all your loved furry animals. The pets will definitely die if they drink the coolant, so I'd say keep it all contained. Don't let it drip. Don't harm the wildlife. And now we're gonna take off the thermostat. Looks like that all the fluid's drained out of the system. No more fluid coming out. So we're gonna go ahead and crack open those two Torx bolts. Open these two Torx so our thermostat can come out free. Okay guys, so these are two E10 bolts that I've removed. And just to bear in mind, I haven't removed my belt, so what I've done is I've just gone under the belt there with an 1 inch extension, and that has just done the trick for me with this tool. And I'm sure just with the normal wrench it would be the same. And the whole idea was I didn't want to create more work by just taking off the belt and then putting it back on. At some point I will be replacing the belt, but today is not that on the agenda. Today I've got a few other things to replace, so we're just gonna take off this. Came off real easy, and it's gonna drip, so I gotta put the bucket underneath it first. Okay, so we've undone it. Put some stuff underneath the car to catch all the coolant, and now just put it towards an angle and take it off. Now I've replaced this item just out of regular maintenance, guys. This wasn't stuck open or stuck closed. This was working still fine, so I'll just keep it as a backup for future. But right now it's time for a new one. So for the new one, I've ordered a Gates thermostat, which is 87 degrees thermostat. I didn't go for the typical 91 degrees just because I want my thermostat to start engaging a little bit sooner, because usually it doesn't really get too hot in British Columbia, but when it does, it really gets smoking hot. So just for those days I wanted to be prepared. And before I try to put this on, I just want to see it is the correct unit. Yes, fits perfect. Yeah, lines up. And now before I go that route, I'm just gonna clean all the gunk that's sitting there, make sure there's no leak on the seal. This is the new shiny Gates product, 87 degrees thermostat. So I tried to test fit it earlier and it worked fine. So now we're gonna go ahead, because I haven't removed the belt, I'm just gonna go like that and put this on. Actually, one thing I would like to do before that is try and remove my temperature sensor because it's sitting right next to it, and this one's got a little bit of edgy plate on it that's gonna make it harder for the thing to come out. So pinch it with the pliers, right? And then just pull out the plug. Okay, the plug's off. Now this just sits there with an O-ring, so guys, before you take this off, just remember, pay attention. There's a small circlip that you can use a pry bar, put it on and just take it off. It comes off. I made it look too easy because I popped it beforehand, in all honesty, but you gotta just pay attention. Put the pry bar through there, right underneath. I don't think the camera is doing the job there. Put the pry bar on the sensor there and just pop it, and then right here, and then the sensor just sensor's right there. It just comes off. Old shitty sensor off. We're gonna put a new one in. I have no clue if the sensor was contributing factor to the car's temperature climbing up to 92 degrees or not, but it was a cheaper item, so I went ahead and bought a rain sensor, and that is going to go back in the block now. And here it is. That sensor sits in the block. O-ring seals it. I just confirmed that the stock thermostat was also an 87 degrees, so it's just basically the same replacement then. Nothing fancy about gates. Alright guys, now this sensor's back on, but let me tell you, the clip behind it is a real son of a bitch, so you will have to really make it work at an angle. Pull this unit out and put the circlip on at an angle. Oh sorry, no, the unit goes back in the block, the clip goes at an angle this way towards the thermostat, 60 degrees, and then you pop it open and then you slowly spin it till it goes over that hook. So once it settles on that hook, you got to wiggle it a couple of times. You'll hear the click. It sits in, drop the plug on, and Bob's your uncle. But it's not as easy as I explained it on the video. It'll take you a good 15 minutes unless you're really skilled, maybe 20. But let's put the thermostat back on, so at least this part is done. Oh, the rubber came off. Okay, pay attention to this, guys. You got to make sure your rubber's all on properly. Okay. Yeah, there's a bit of dirt there. Tidy it off.
Perfect.
There we go. Got that on. Now put one bolt in. Alright. And then put the second one in. There. This is a bit tricky. Okay, when tightening this, guys, don't go super Hercules level strength because you will break it. It's a very thin magnesium aluminum metal. When it stops, just stop with it. Alright, now that's on. Now we gotta work our hose onto there. Alright, that goes there. Same thing here. The hose clamp on, actually. Alrighty, what size is this? This is a size 7. We gotta loosen the hose clamp a bit. Shit. And one under. Put that there. Okay, when you're putting this hose on, guys, just make sure that it's all the way to the end and seated properly. We got the temperature sensor in there. Hang on, I gotta move the camera. Temperature sensor in, thermostat in, and the top hose is done. Make sure it's seating properly all the way to the end up top, and the hose clamp is done. Wiggle it, try to rip it, just don't go too hard that you break the damn radiator. And just see, this is good. Now we're gonna change that auxiliary pump, secondary circulation pump, and we've also decided to take this tank off and give it a bit of clean because it's absolutely filthy right now. It was a size 6 again. Yeah.
And we can take it off. I can let you have access to it maybe to pull it off.
Level sensor?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Well,
Level that bloody sensor up.
Why is that coming out? It should come out, as I said.
Hey, oh, there's still some left at the back. Okay, guys, and that's how you take off the expansion tank. And now, right at the same time, what I'm going to do is take off this secondary circulation pump while there is no fluid in the system. This is again same thing, size 6, and then pull this hose out. Okay, and this one just comes off. There we go. It's too hard to take it off, too hard to put it back on again, guys. Alrighty. Alright. And now we're just gonna loosen these a bit so they slide onto it easy, and the pump is replaced just like that. Okay, that one's done. All right. undo it and then put it on. That's tight enough. It's not going anywhere. There you go, guys. The pump is replaced. Games I need a volunteering. Okay, guys, so we've cleaned it out, and it turns out the bottom had a lot of black sedimentation set in there. Who knows when this car's coolant was last changed? Probably never. Just the way things have turned out so far with everything else on this vehicle, nothing was kept up. Yeah, so we got to put the electrical plug back on first, and then I'm gonna leave these tabs away from it because I gotta put this bottom one first on. That went on easier. Okay, let's tighten this one up first. Yeah, not too tight.
Just give the brass.
I just don't want any leaks, that's all.
Yeah.
See, it's a bit moving now.
Oh, you're backwards.
That should do it. Not going anywhere. Put that on. Down there. This one goes there. This goes back in the same groove there, guys, where it was. So the flow is not disrupted, which already MB wanted it. That'd be good. Honestly, guys, it's worth taking the extra effort to clean the bottom of it. There was just that much crap stuck under there. If you're doing this job of changing that many parts in your cooling system, might as well go a few minutes extra and just make it work properly. Okay, that's too tight. Move a bit back. Not going anywhere. That's good. So the major components are almost done. What we gotta do now, guys, is get underneath the car and change the bottom hose for the radiator, which might be a little bit tricky, but still doable. That's all it takes. Just that one snap, get it back on, and then they just turn it. If you want to be extra cautious, you can just turn it a little bit with this nose, the needle nose, but don't go too crazy because they're quite famous for breaking, and you don't want to mess around with this guy too much. All right. Okay, I've gone generously loose on this, guys, so I'm gonna do this 5 times. Alright guys, I'm not sure how much is this camera gonna catch, but just to get the idea, you guys gonna have to go from the bottom here to loosen that clamp. This is not a fun one. Okay, so you just gotta make sure you're at. All right, the clamp is off. There we go. All right guys, there you go. So you got to go from the side here along the fan Or you could make it easy for yourself and just dismantle the radiator and the fan and all that. I just chose the easier way for me instead of doing all that. Okay guys, so the trick for that is put some silicone lube on it on the inside to make the transition easy, otherwise you'll be crying left, right and center. You just gotta touch and feel and make sure that your hose is on fully. If this is leaking, you gotta do this all over again, guys. Okay guys, so we've tightened this hose clamp here and the one up top. Let me put the camera in there. This is showing. Yeah, that hose clamp there, it's a bit tricky to get to, but still doable. All you gotta do is put your ratchet through here. Where is the hose clamp? Oh, it's right here. Sorry. The hose clamp is right there where the light's shining. So what you gotta do is just take the ratchet from here, reach it, tighten and untighten, then that way you don't have to remove any of these shrouds or belts. There's enough gap to put your hand through. Look, my hand goes all the way in there. You can do your thing, get your hand out, or you can put it through here. That way you can really reach in forward. So that's a little bit of trick to not get into too much detail of taking the shroud off and taking the fan off and belt and just make another hour's worth of more work for yourself. And now the only thing that's left is to put the fluids back in and get this thing fired up, bleed it, and then that's the job done. Majority of the cooling system's all refreshed except for the water pump, and my water pump hasn't made any noises or any kind of catastrophic failure symptoms have shown so far that, you know, I had to go and fork out all the money and time to change that. For this point, I'm just gonna leave the pump as it is and see how the car performs. If there's no issues, I'll leave it as it is. Otherwise, we'll make another video of changing a pump a bit later. Okay, we put the air filter back on. There's the new secondary fluid pump sitting right there, nice and shiny. Hoses are back on. They've all been tightened. Just pull on them just to make sure, check they're not leaky. You don't want that mess that once you got all the system back on and then you got leaks everywhere. There you go, guys. If you like the content, please subscribe and I'll keep the videos coming. Now let's get to fill this system quickly. Okay guys, so we're gonna start filling up the cooling system again. What we got here is a Hapu coolant. I ordered it from German parts, so obviously it's made in Germany shit. And that's distilled water. We gotta mix it 50-50. I have a feeling that the coolant that came out is not quite 10 liters. So I'm starting with 6 to begin with and then see how we go. If the system needs more, I'll keep mixing more, but for now I've left the mark at 6 and we're gonna start pouring it in the system, get it all filled up and then bleed it. That's why we're just bleeding the system somewhat by pushing the top hose of the radiator. That's all it's doing. This air bubbles out. So Rob here is just pushing the hose, and every time he pushes, air comes out of there. I can just see it. It's literally the best method to bleed.
We should
Before-
have the heater open so that it can be going through the heater core too. Right?
Oh yeah. I'm just gonna fill in until this one tops up, then I'll turn the heater core circulation on. It's still going.
Yeah. That's 6 liters we're putting back.
Yeah.
No leaks.
We'll check for the leaks.
Yeah. On your side hole.
Yeah, okay guys, while we're trying to put some fluid in there, we're just gonna make sure that there's no obvious signs of leak. I know the system's not under pressure right now, but just to see if there's any crazy leaks that would just happen anywhere around the thermostat or sensor. Sensor won't go on unless it's under pressure. No leaks there. Okay, good. So I guess there's enough fluid in the expansion tank now to turn on the system. So we're gonna fire up the car
Heater on.
and turn the heater on to maximum. More than 6. So we'll wait for the thermostat to open up, let the car heat up a bit. Well, it's a good thing that we're having a heat spell for the last couple of days. And it's not a bad thing to do the cooling system upgrade now when the car heats up so quick, eh? Okay guys, so looks like the bleeding was a success. It's been running, the thermostat's open. Push the hose, nothing shows up there. There are no more air bubbles. And the system's running great. And if you look at it inside, temperature steady, just above 80 it shows there. But if you look at it on the OBD here, it's just sitting right at 87 the way it's supposed to. So this is all perfect now. On a hot day, everything's running the way it's supposed to. Now we can shut it off, and that's how you service your cooling system. If you like the content, please subscribe, and we'll put out some other good videos related to this ML first, and then as we go, we'll pick up other cars and go from there. As we turned it off, there's more air coming off, so that was a good time to capture it all. And our secondary pump is working too, the way it's supposed to. That's one of the ways you can tell if your pump is shot. After you turn off the car, it's supposed to go on for another 30 seconds or so. If it's not running like this, that means its bushes are gone or the fan's gone. But right now it's working flawlessly. So that's it for the video today, guys. Have a good day. Thanks for tuning in.